Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, today I would like to start the talk by explaining a little bit about the taking of refuge in the triple gem, which we did at the beginning of this session. So taking refuge is actually taking refuge in the triple gem is actually taking refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. It is a very basic and important Buddhist practice. But do we ever ask why? Taking refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha means Dhamma is the truth or the natural laws. The Buddha is the embodiment of the truth. And Sangha are people who aspires to realize the truth. So basically, we are taking refuge in the truth. And a truth is a constant in the world. Why? Why do we take refuge in the truth? Because if you see the truth, all your problems, all your suffering will vanish, will disappear. You will have the bliss of freedom, the demonic bliss, and this is the aim of Buddhism. Unfortunately, many people and many Buddhists think that this realization of the truth is only for superhuman like the Buddha. Today, I want to share with you that each and every one of us can see glimpses of this truth in our everyday life if we have an open mind. I hope today you can listen with an attitude of exploration, of wanting to test, experiment, not to learn to memorize. What I'm sharing with you is not a theory or a concept, but a reality that you can experience in your daily life. Okay, we will start by showing you some pictures and some videos. Okay, please look at this picture. You should see a white triangle in the middle. But look carefully, actually there is no white triangle in the middle. You didn't see wrong, you did see a white triangle, but there is no white triangle. What happens is there is three round black objects which have missing parts. Do you see the missing parts? And also the black triangle line also have missing parts. Because of these missing parts, your mind thinks that there is a white triangle. So next time when you see a problem in front of you or someone giving you a problem, before you try to look for a solution, don't believe what you see. Because normally we assume what we see is 100% correct and we start looking for a solution. But there might not be a problem, actually. So let's look at the next picture, the old and young woman. Can you see the old woman? And can you see the young woman? For those who can't see the old woman, look at the crooked nose. Can you please show the crooked nose? There is a crooked nose of the old woman, and then the mouth, the black color mouth. So that shows, if you look at this part, you will see an old woman. For the young woman, look at the eyelashes. This one is the eyelashes. And you will see that just now that mouth will become the necklace for the neck. Yeah. So actually, some people will see old woman, some people will see young woman. So we never really, what we see and what is being seen out there, it's not the same. What we see and the object that we see is not the same. Okay, so, and we only feel what we think we see. We don't feel the object. So if you see an old woman, maybe you might feel sympathy. If you see young woman, maybe you feel lighthearted. But actually, technically, there is no old woman and young woman because it's just lines that make you think you see old woman and young woman. So actually, what happens is our seeing process is not like a camera capturing an image. It's actually a projector projecting a story in our mind. Now, next, the video of the circle. Can you see, actually, you will see the circle, right circle moving in a circle, but actually it's not. You look carefully, the white circle actually is moving in straight line, but you see them moving in circle. So what you see is not true. It's a story created in your mind. So don't judge. What you see is only your perception. Okay. Now, one last video on the figure going round. So do you see the figure turning clockwise or anti-clockwise? Yeah, actually, some people will see clockwise, some people will see anti-clockwise. And actually, you can see clockwise and then anti-clockwise and then clockwise and the anti-clockwise. I will give you some time to see, and then there is an explanation at the end. This is how it works. It's actually the mind that thinks. You interpret the interpretation, the spinning. Okay, we can move on.
Ya, kita
Bante, is
lanjut.
the figure is moving in one direction only, or is it moving
Okay,
from start to the end? Is it one direction only, or is that it's moving in two directions?
good question. Actually, it's neither moving, it's not in either direction. It's our mind that thinks it's moving in each direction. It's a trick. Here, I would like to tell you a famous Zen story. There was one time, two Zen disciples was arguing when they saw a flag moving. One of them says the flag is moving. The other one says the wind is moving. Both of them went to the Zen master and asked who is right. And the Zen master said, both of you are wrong because it is the mind that's moving. So in Abhidhamma mind process, the Chitta Vritti, every seeing process has one eye door cognitive process followed by many mind door cognitive process. So actually the seeing process, only one seeing process in the mind, in the eye, and many process in the mind. Even the process in the eye door, it is only one moment in the eye door. Yeah, because it starts with the averting consciousness in the mind door, then one moment in the eye door, then back to receiving consciousness, investigating, determining consciousness, the 7 impulsion and 2 registration consciousness, all in the mind door. So actually only the process in the eye is very short. Most of the process is the story we create in the mind. And in science, then we know that when we see an object, the object is went upside down in our retina. And then based on our past experience, our belief, our opinion, we will create a story about the object. But they exist. So it is like rainbow or dream. It is there, but it is not there. Yeah, so, but for rainbow, we know we won't go and look for the rainbow, cut it and take it home. But when we see someone scolding us, we think it's real and we keep it in our mind as real. We think it's a real thing. So remember, when you face a problem, before you start looking for a solution, don't believe that the problem really exists. The major problem is not thinking you see the white triangle, old woman or young woman. The problem is you believe the triangle, old woman or young woman is real. So in your life, the problem is not thinking that you see your good friend giving you a sour face. The problem is you believe your good friend don't like you. So don't believe fully what you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and even think. This is not what I say, because in the Buddha did say in Kalama Sutta, don't believe something just because it is logical. Because logic, it also depends on how we see things. Same evidence in the law of court, we can argue the person, two different person can argue that person is guilty, and another person can argue the same person is innocent using same evidence. So to me, one important thing in Buddhism is being mindful not to believe in the illusion that you your own self created. Thinking, because your thinking creates your reality, and actually you feel your thinking. Seeing this truth is an important part of Buddhism. Why? I will explain. All Buddhists, doesn't matter whether you are Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, will agree that the core of Buddhism is the Four Noble Truths. And the important part of Four Noble Truths is the path of practice, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. And the Noble Eightfold Path starts with Samma Ditthi and Samma Sankappa, which is the wisdom path. So actually, wisdom is the starting of Buddhism. If you don't have wisdom, you haven't even stepped into the door of Buddhism. But you ask, what about morality? Morality is actually exists for all other religion. So now go back to what is wisdom. Wisdom is actually just now the samadhi, the right view, which is seeing the truth, and the samma sankappa, the right intention, which is the realization of the truth. So basically you can say it's about seeing and realizing the truth. So what is, just now I was talking about seeing and realize the truth. So what is a truth? A truth is a constant like gravity. It's a constant which doesn't matter whether you are Indonesian or you're American or you're Chinese, you will still experience it. And realization is actually not learning, it's like an aha moment, like how you get a joke, how you realize a joke. It's like when you realize something, when you understand a joke, you have this aha feeling. That's realization. So Buddhism, the aim of Buddhism is about awakening to the truth, especially the truth of who or actually what we are. You can only realize the truth by experiencing it. You can't realize the truth by learning. I can point you to the truth, but you have to experience it. For example, I can show you that there is gravity by dropping the pen, but you have to experience it yourself. Also, there's nothing to believe because you can feel, you can experience it personally. Also, it's important to know that words can only point you to the truth. The words that I use are not the truth. A food menu is not the food. You can't eat the food menu. But words can be very deceiving. My red color and your red color can be different. Your red color can be my maroon or orange. But at least red is the direction to look. You know what direction to look. That's why in Dhammapada, the Buddha says, I can only point you to the truth. I cannot tell you the truth. What are the important truths in Buddhism? There's three parts: anicca, dukkha, anatta. Yeah, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. Okay, it doesn't matter whoever you are and wherever you are, you will experience impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. It is a constant. Every moment, everything, including your body, changes. Cell dies and new cells are formed every moment. According to science, every 5 days you get a new stomach, every 30 days a new skin, every 90 days a new skeleton, and every year 98% of your body is new. Also, every moment, billions of our mind moments have, millions of our mind process have passed. What is the significance? What is the importance of this in our daily life? The significance is, let's say, someone, maybe John, yesterday beat you up, and today you are still angry or you have a grudge and you hate John. It's not right, because the John yesterday and today is not exactly the same. The you that's beaten up yesterday and the you today is not exactly the same. Not 100% the same. The you that's beaten up yesterday and the you today is also not 100% the same. So actually the John that beat you up no longer exists, but they are related. So you have to be careful because they have the same, today's John and yesterday's John have the same character, behavior. He might beat you again. You have to be careful. To be careful is correct, but to hate the person is not right because that person don't exist anymore. What I would continue to show you today is a description of life. Truth is a description of life. It's not a prescription of what to do. Once you see and experience the truth, your life will change. For example, if every day you take a road that goes to work that takes you 1 hour to drive there, but one day, if I would suddenly tell you that there is a shortcut that takes 15 minutes, your life will change. I don't have to tell you how to drive or what to do. You just know what to do. You will never intentionally use the 1 hour drive, but sometimes you might forget. You might use, because you forget, you still use the 1 hour drive, or sometimes because you want to enjoy the scenic drive, but you don't intentionally use the 1 hour drive. So today I want to go back to the topic that our thinking creates our reality. And we never feel what we experience in the world. We feel our thinking of the experience. For example, it is raining outside and you can think that it's a blessing. Buddhists like to think it's a blessing and you feel happy. Or same rain, you can think that, oh, I can't go picnic today and you feel disappointed. Or you can think that rain very noisy and you feel very irritated. So same rain, we have different experience, different feeling. We don't feel the rain, we feel what we think about the rain. Let's say one day you go to work, the boss says that we did something wrong. We could start thinking that we might get fired and we feel worried. Or we can feel that the boss falsely accuses and we feel anger. Or we can think that the boss is talking nonsense and we feel indifferent. Or we can think that this is a good opportunity or good excuse for us to find another job and we feel happy. So we don't feel what the boss said. We feel what we think the boss said. And anyway, your boss rate and your rate is not the same. What you think your boss say and what your boss say can never be 100% the same. But in our everyday life, we always believe it's the same without questioning. Another example, when I was in my high school major national exam, after the exam, my grandmother asked me, how is the exam? And I said, very difficult. My grandmother asked the same question to my neighbor, and her answer is, it's not too bad, it's okay. But when the exam result come out, my neighbor just passed and I had distinction. Another example is the word gay. If 100 years ago, if you say you are gay, it means you are happy. Now, if you say you are gay, you are in big problem. So again, in my grandparents' time, Chinese like to call their children pig or dog or even stupid because they think that it's easier to raise the children. it is something that's accepted by many people. Now, if the parents call their children pig or dog, the children will sue the parents for emotional torture. So to me, we create the story of emotional torture and we suffer the emotional torture. In quantum physics, every single moment, there are infinite possibilities, but we collapse into one possibility. According to science, every second we come into contact with 400 billion bits of information, but we process only 2,000 bits. It is like every moment we come into contact with 600,000 books like this, but we only process a few pages. The pessimists will throw away all the good ones and collapse into the pessimistic reality. Optimistic will throw away all the bad ones and collapse into the optimistic reality. I'm not asking you to be optimist or pessimist. I'm saying both are illusion. So feeling and thinking are two sides of the same coin. So what we think, we feel. And all our feeling comes from our thinking, not from outside. So when you're angry, it's not someone make you angry. It's because you think angry thoughts. All your problems are created in your mind, not from the outside. And this is in Dhammapada verse 1 and 2, which says that Mano Pubangama Dhamma, Mano Seta, Mano Maya. Mind is the forerunner, mind is chief, all are mind made. Mind is the forerunner, is the chief, and everything is mind made. So you might ask me, Bante, does it mean that getting abused or getting terminal disease like cancer is not real? No, it is real. I'm not asking you to go into denial, to deny. For example, when my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I wasn't sad or happy, but one day I just do what I need to do. I went to find doctors, find different medicine, do what I need to do. But one day when I sit down and start thinking, why my mother has to get cancer? How long will this last? Why this happens to our family? I begin to feel sad, begin to feel tired. So I don't feel my mother's having cancer. I feel my thinking of my mother's having cancer. So another example is there are many cases, medical cases like this, where two persons, A and B, went for medical checkup. A was given the report that he has cancer and will only live for 3 more months. And B was given the report that he is healthy and strong. 3 months later, A died and B still very strong and healthy. The problem is, at that 3 months, the doctor found that they make a mistake. A's report was given to B, B report was accidentally given to A. So actually the patients feel what they think about their disease. They don't feel the disease. And there are many cases like this. Another example, this is many years ago, a real case where one worker of there's those van that has there's some van that have a refrigerator at the back, cold room, and a worker on a Friday evening was checking and cleaning the cold room, and he accidentally got locked inside, and he knows that no one is going to help to save him until Monday, and he will die. So he thought he has pen and paper, he will write down how he got frozen to death for the science to use as a learning. The problem is on Monday, when they opened the refrigeration, they saw him dead, frozen to death, and they saw it's according to how he write, how he was slowly frozen to death. But the problem is they found that the refrigeration was not on. It was not cold. So he think that he's frozen to death and he was frozen to death. Also, according to science, we actually, when we have, let's say when we have a cut on the body, we don't really feel the pain. There is a sensation, we don't feel the pain. I will explain. Let's say you were experienced before when you are in a soccer game or in your basketball game. During the game, when you get cut, you never feel it until after the game is over, when you sit down and rest, then only you feel the pain. Actually, according to science, when you get a cut, there is a sensation, a signal that's sent to the brain, and it's the brain that tells you that it's painful or how painful it is. So again, I want to stress that the problem is not the thinking. The problem is believing that your thinking is real. For example, if someone scolds us once, every time when we think why the person scold us, how can he scold us, we are actually scolding ourselves again and again. So maybe the person scolds us once, we scold ourselves 100 times or 1,000 times. Life is not about what happened to us, it's how we react to it. I'm not asking you to think positive, because if you try to think positive, then you will have the pressure that I have to think positive. Nothing wrong with thinking positive, but if you think that you have to think positive, then you have the pressure. I'm just telling you there are many possibilities. If you think angry thoughts, you have angry feelings. If you think peaceful thoughts, then you have peaceful feelings. So I'm just telling you description. I'm not giving you what to do. It's just like if you want to open a door and you try to push and pull and you can't open, and I come along and tell you it's a sliding door, I don't have to tell you what to do. You know how to open the door. I will share another story about how our mind creates stories from what we see. There is this village where there's a husband and wife, and one day the husband is free. Husband asks the wife, what can he do to help? The wife says she wants to make a lot of cakes and asks him to go to the next village market to buy eggs. When the husband about to enter the next village, there is a teenager that keep scolding him, keep abusing him. He felt very angry. He tried to be patient to go to the market, but he was too angry and he turned back. When the wife saw him without the eggs, the wife asked, where are the eggs? But the wife, being maybe wise, he waited until the husband cooled down from his anger, then only continue asking. Then the husband explained that he was scolded by a teenager, and the wife asked him to describe how the teenager looks like. So the wife told the husband that teenager, actually, he's very pitiful. When he was young, he helped the parents fix the roof. He fell down, and from then on, he has mental problem. So when the husband heard that, he has compassion. The wife asked him to go and buy eggs again, and the second time he go, again, the teenager scolded him. In fact, he was scolded more because the teenager felt that first time I scold you, you still come back, and he scold him more. But the husband, this time not angry. He feel compassion, and he could go to the market and buy the eggs and come back. So my question for you to think is, first time and the second time, same experience, getting scolded. In fact, second time worse. Why first time the husband is very angry, second time he has compassion? So we don't feel what happened to us. We feel what we think about what happened to us. So our thinking gives meaning to the world. So you can say we create the script for our movie, we direct, we act, and we also the audience. So this is how our life story is created. Another example, I want to show you that events in life is open to many interpretations. This example is a common ancient story. In the ancient time, there's one village where one day the son of the village head found a wild horse. Then the neighbor came and tell the village head, "You are so lucky." And the village head say, "Is that so?" Then a few days later, the wild horse went missing. And the neighbor says, "You are so unlucky." And the village head say, "Is that so?" A few days later, the wild horse brought back a group of wild horse. And the neighbor says, "Oh, now you're so lucky." And again, the village head said, "Is that so?" Again, a few days later, the village head son ride the horse, and wild horse, he couldn't control, he fall down and broke his leg. And the neighbor again says, "Oh, you're so unlucky." And again, the village head said, "Is that so?" And another few days later, the country is in war. They need to conscript all the able young men into the army. But because the son of the village head has a broken leg, he don't have to go to army and don't have to die. So again, the neighbor says, "You are so lucky." And again, the village head says, "Is that so?" Lucky or unlucky, it depends on our interpretation in our mind. One thing we know is, since feeling and mind and thinking are two sides of the same coin, feeling is an indicator of our thinking. So negative feelings means we are thinking negative thoughts. Positive feelings means we are thinking positive thoughts. It's like the feelings are like indicators in our car dashboard. So if the indicator in the dashboard gives you a warning sound that your engine has problem, you shouldn't get upset with the indicator and try to fix the indicator. You fix the engine. So when you are sad or when you are angry, it is nothing wrong with this anger or sad. It is an indicator that you are thinking angry thoughts or sad thoughts. So don't get afraid of the feeling and try to solve the feeling. No need to look for a solution for the feeling. Just don't believe your thinking. Because if you don't believe the thinking, the thoughts will keep changing. They are impermanence. Why in our daily life we have so many wandering thoughts is because we believe in the thoughts. I want to stress that these thoughts are like a cookie made from the oven. Our mind is oven, and it will keep producing new thoughts if you don't hold on to the old thoughts. When you don't believe your thoughts and hold on to the thoughts, new thoughts will come. One of the things that help is our thoughts is like waves on top of the ocean. Don't pay attention to the waves on top of the ocean. Try to pay attention to the water at the bottom of the ocean, which is calm. When you don't believe in your thoughts, you can try to pay attention to the space where the thoughts come instead of the thoughts. So actually, if we don't believe in the thoughts and get lost in the thoughts, our natural intuition will know what to do, what's best for us. We already have the wisdom inside us to know what to do, what's best for us. Yeah, we actually naturally, you think back in your life, we actually have a lot of intuition that know what to do. So my conclusion is, don't be afraid of your feelings. Don't believe in your thoughts. Okay, maybe we can start the question and answer.
Bante, just now Bante said, thinking positively, we may have pressure. How could we, when we think positively, we could have pressure? Then the second question is, how should we react? How should we think? If like the case like Bante's mom is having terminal cancer, how should we react?
Okay, what I'm saying that if I say you have to think positive, then you will give yourself pressure. You will say, I have to think positive, I have to think positive. That's what I mean. Understand?
Yes, understand.
Okay. Second question, very easy. As I said throughout the whole talk, I'm not telling you what to do because you know what to do when you are not lost in your thoughts. When your mind is calm, you know what to do. Okay?
Yes, Bante. This Dhamma talk is not as heavy as Abhidhamma, but the wisdom is so deep.
But I hope you don't try to learn something. You try to explore in your daily life. I want you to, in your daily life, try to explore. As in, can you test it out in your daily life that what you think is 100% correct, it's not. It's your thinking, it's your story. Try to experiment in your daily life. Because a lot of our suffering is through our thinking. We think that people don't like us. We think that people hate us. We think that there's big problem in front of us. But is it really true?
Bante, ada pertanyaan lagi. Bagaimana tidak percaya dengan pikiran? Sebagai contoh, digigit buaya sakit. Jadi perlu diuji sakit atau tidak?
Oh.
Silakan.
Okay, when you are bitten by a crocodile, I'm not saying that don't go and see the doctor. I'm saying that your story that I'm bitten by crocodile, why am I so unlucky? I'm going to die. And no, I'm the worst, most unlucky person, and this is the worst thing, and so on. Those stories are not real. I'm not asking you don't go and see a doctor to cure your crocodile bite. The stories are illusion. There is a crocodile there, it's not illusion. Okay, any next question, sorry.
Inilah pertanyaannya, bagaimana Bante mengatakan kita tidak perlu percaya dengan pikiran. Jadi pertanyaan dari Pak Manjur, bagaimana tidak percaya dengan pikiran?
Okay.
Misalkan gini, jadi kalau umpamanya kalau digigit buaya sakit, apakah kita harus uji coba nih, dirasakan, oh saya nggak percaya nih, menurut pikiran saya digigit buaya tidak sakit gitu ya, maka saya coba dulu. Nah, jadi pertanyaannya, bagaimana percaya dengan pikiran?
When you bitten by a crocodile, definitely you will feel pain. So I'm not asking you not to feel the pain. I'm saying that the story you create about the pain is not real. And you ask me how not to believe the story is you have to test it out. You have to, in your daily life, you have to see that what you think in your mind is not what is really happening. After you have experienced many times, then you will not believe in your thoughts. You have to experiment yourself. I can't tell you. After you experiment many times, you will see that what you think is not the same as what is happening in the world. So yeah, so you have to test it, experiment it yourself. I can't tell you because you have to realize the truth. Once you realize that what you think is not the same as what's out there, then you won't believe it anymore. You have to check it out yourself. Okay. Next question.
Terima kasih.
When we think about something, some feeling towards other, let's say I am feeling happy about someone, or I'm feeling I hate him or something. Can the person that we feel like that we feel happy or we feel hatred or something, can he feel what we feel?
Oh yes, he can. So actually, if you let's say if you think a person is a bad person, he might not actually be bad because he feels that you always think that he's bad, then he might have bad feelings towards you. So originally he might not feel anything bad towards you, but Your mind creates your own reality and it makes it happen. But if you're asking, does two persons feel the same thing about a same situation, then no. Like just now the rain example, two persons can experience the rain. One person might feel happy because raining, another person might feel upset because no picnic because of the rain. Oke.
Saya mau bertanya, Bante. Kadang kita ini dalam keseharian dipenuhi dengan banyak asumsi, Bante. Jadi misalkan saat kita berkendara, itu ada mobil yang menyalip, mendahului kita dengan kecepatan tinggi dan ingin membahayakan orang lain. Nah, kita berasumsi dua. Orang tersebut sedang dalam buru-buru, tergesa-gesa karena ingin ke rumah sakit atau sedang ditunggu oleh seseorang yang penting urusannya. Yang kedua, berasumsi, wah, orang yang mengendarai kendaraan ini sombong sekali ya, dan akan membahayakan orang lain. Jadi itu ada muncul satu pikiran yang positif dan pikiran negatif. Nah, untuk hal tersebut, bagaimana nih Bante? Mohon saran Bante. Itu kan akan cepat sekali pikiran berasumsi, Bante. Sebaiknya, begitu kita melihat satu kejadian, sebaiknya kita tidak perlu berasumsi, hanya cukup kita perhatian penuh saja dengan apa yang kita kerjakan. Apakah seperti itu, Bante?
You have to test in your daily life that your assumption is a story created by you, not real. You have to keep testing. Then you don't believe in your assumption and you won't lose your effort and time dwelling in the assumption. And you will do what needs to be done.
What needs to be done, Bante?
You will know your intuition. You have very powerful intuition, but because we are lost in the thoughts, our intuition cannot come out.
Oh, so in this case, like when it has happened, just now he has two assumptions in his mind with this he created by himself. Like this person should be going somewhere. We just like creating the story that we don't know exactly what happened.
Yep.
So when it is happening, what we should try in our daily life is, this is only my thought. I don't need to dwelling in this thought. Just do what I have to do, like keep driving, something like that.
What you say is correct, but it's not so easy until one day you really realize that your thoughts is not real, it's story. You can use that as a start, but you have to really experiment in your daily life that your thoughts is a story, because you don't know whether A is true or B or true. It's your story that you create. And when you are lost in the story, your intuition cannot come out. You have to try, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you to explore, to experiment, to test.
Yeah, understood.
Okay.
Untuk Bante.
Okay.
Bante, terkadang apa yang kita pikirkan itu justru terjadi sesuai dengan yang kita pikirkan. Nah, kalau sudah seperti begini, bagaimana cara untuk menghealing perasaan ini loh, Bante? Terkadang begini, pas ada semacam kejadian, misalnya kita bertengkar nih, atau kita di gimana ya, misalnya ada permasalahan di kantor, ternyata pada saat itu sih sepertinya masalah ini sudah selesai, tapi kemudian karena setelah kita pulang ke rumah itu kan kita berpikir nanti bisa seperti begini, dan seperti yang Bante bilang itu kita create story. Nah ternyata justru yang udah kita bayang-bayangkan seperti itu benar-benar terjadi gitu. Mungkin bisa saja kita itu dimarahi oleh atasan karena, atau kita dipecat seperti begitu. Jadi itu gimana gitu loh Bante, karena bisa saja terjadi yang sudah kita pikirkan itu cerita-cerita yang muncul dalam pemikiran kita ternyata benar-benar terjadi gitu.
No, not true, because like I say, every moment there is 600,000 information like this size books that you experience, but you only process a few pages. So you only take a small part of what you actually experience. For example, if you get fired, it might be because of many things, but in your mind you think that, oh, he hate me, the boss try to find faults with me. Maybe true, but might not be. There are actually 1,000 other or 1,000,000 other reasons, but we only focus on one small part and we think that is the absolute truth. It is not.
Berarti kita terima saja, pasrah saja dengan apa yang terjadi, seperti itu.
I'm not asking you what to do again. I'm just telling you that your story is an illusion. You get what I mean? It's wrong to say that just accept whatever happened to you. Don't accept what your mind tell you, the story that I'm so unfortunate. This boss is so wicked. He's try to torture me. Those stories, don't believe them. But you getting sacked, that's real. You got to look for a new job.
Kadang gini Bante, kita bisa aja sih melakukan kesalahan, ya kan? Jadi bisa aja mungkin gimana ya, melakukan kesalahan itu terhadap orang lain, itu kita bisa saja kita itu mulai berpikir yang jelek gitu ya, bahwasanya nanti kejadiannya setelah ini pasti bisa berkembang menjadi seperti ini. Nah justru yang terjadi itu, apa yang sudah kita pikirkan itu benar-benar terjadi seperti gitu. Jadi kalau memangnya kita seperti kata Bante, kita tidak usah memikirkan, tidak membangun story-story seperti itu. Justru saya merasa kita tidak punya pertahanan.
You should ask for forgiveness if you do something wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you not to. I'm not asking you to ignore that. When you've done something wrong, I'm not asking you to ignore and not fix it.
Okay. Okay, Bante.
Can you get what I mean?
Yes, I get. Yeah. Udah ngerti Bante, ngerti.
Yeah. Not so easy. I know what I'm saying is not so easy, but once you realize it, your life change. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not about what to do, what not to do. If you are not lost in your thoughts, actually you know what to do. We have the intuition, and science says that all of us are interconnected. We have the wisdom to know what to do. Yeah. So we have all the information to do what we need to do. Everything in the world is interconnected.
Yeah. Okay, Bante, I understand.
Okay.
Intuisi alami itu seperti apa? Intuisi bukankah juga proses batin dan persepsi batin?
Yes, the intuition also comes from your mind, but it comes from a very clear and peaceful mind. The thoughts I'm talking about come from very unpeaceful state. So I'm saying that when you are not lost in this very chaotic thinking, thoughts, then your mind will become peaceful. And when your mind becomes peaceful, the intuition will come. But you cannot make the mind peaceful. It's like when there is a lake which has wave, you cannot use your hand to stop the wave. What you do is, if you don't believe your thoughts, the wave will stop. Okay.
Sukihotu, saya ada satu pertanyaan untuk Bante.
Okay.
Mengapa kita bisa membenci orang yang bahkan kita tidak kenal? Contoh, ketika melihat wajah seseorang di televisi, kita langsung tidak menyukai wajah orang itu tanpa ada alasan yang jelas. Anumodana.
Very easy. Because we don't live this life only, we live many lives. So maybe in past lives, he's your enemy. But again, this is not important because we think that he or she don't like us. It's again a story that we create in our thinking. Okay.
Soki Hotu, Bante. Saya mau tanya ya, ini mengenai perasaan sama pikiran ya. Saya sering, saya udah hampir 10 tahun lebih inilah ya kan. Saya selalu ya, misalnya saya punya perasaan atau pikiran saya gimana, saya selalu kalau lewat toko atau lewat di mana-mana pun, saya kalau lihat perasaan saya atau pikiran saya tiba-tiba datang, wah ini toko ini sebentar lagi, gak lama lagi dia tutup. Dia akan gulung tikar. Sebentar lagi gak lama, dia 1 tahun datang, dia benar-benar gulung tikar. Dan satu lagi, saya kadang-kadang lihat orang ini, meskipun orang ini kaya, tapi saya lihat ini sebentar lagi dia lagi miskin. Nah, saya tahu persis nanti akhirnya terjadi, cuma kapan aja. Seperti bintang film juga sama. Saya begitu lihat, ini orang ini gak lama, meskipun waktu itu dia sangat terkenal. Penyanyi yang luar biasa. Tapi saya bilang sama anak saya, ini sebentar lagi gak lama dia cerai. Pasti saya bilang. Tapi gak lama, 2 tahun, dia cerai. Kenapa bisa begitu ya? Mohon minta pencerahan penting.
First thing is,
terima kasih.
I think we should avoid you, very dangerous. Maybe you shouldn't believe that so much in your thinking. Because you believe it's true, our thinking has some power. And because you believe so much in your thinking, maybe it has some effect, but it could be also coincidence. But my advice is don't spend too much time on this because it's not something good. If every time you see someone and you think that he will strike lottery and he strike lottery, then you should keep doing. Yeah, it comes, you can't stop, okay? But try to not pay attention to it.
Sadu. Thank you, Bante.
Etawata camehi sampadang punya sampadang sabe dewa anumodantu sabe bhuta anumodantu sabe sata anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya dame nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo idame nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo idame nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo idame punyang asawa kaya wahang hotu idame punyang nibbanasa pacayo hotu mama punya bhagang sabba satanang pajemi te sabe me samam punya bhagang labantu.
Sadu. Buddha sasanang cirang titatu. Buddha sasanang cirang titatu. Buddha sasanang cirang titatu. Sadu.